and get me a little snack.
You know I was just hired to do carpets, right?
You're fired.
I bet you haven't worked a single day in your entire self-absorbed life. Just pay me and I'll be on my way.
Nope.
My equipment! He is the devil. I owe the cleaning company $3,000 for a new machine. And they fired me. Rich people, they get away with everything. $1 million!
If this is the future of America, it's going to be a pretty good time. Hey, welcome back to Bandwagon fans. I'm Jeff, and tonight I'm going to be talking about Overboard. Before I get started, I just want to thank all my returning subscribers and welcome all the new subscribers to go ahead and like this video and hit that subscribe button underneath the video. Really appreciate everybody that comes and checks out what I have to say. It means a lot to me, and especially tonight with this particular movie, I really have a lot to say. So gonna do a little bit of a non-spoiler review in the beginning, but I encourage everybody to stick around to the end because this movie's kind of touched me in a certain way. So stick around to the end of the discussion because I've got quite a bit I'm going to say about where I think this movie fits in in a broader cultural concept. So this is Overboard. This is a remake of the 1987 movie starring Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. This version is directed by Rob Greenberg, starring Anna Faris, Eugenio Derbez, Eva Longoria, and a couple other supporting characters, Mel Rodriguez and Cecilia Suarez. So in the this remake, a lot of the headlines are talking about how it's gender swapped. So in the original, it was Goldie Hawn that fell off a boat and into the arms of the working class Kurt Russell. And in the 2018 version, Anna Faris plays a single mom trying to raise 3 kids, nursing student, working 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs, struggling to get by, about to get evicted from her house. And she comes across Eugenio Derbez, who is son of the 3rd wealthiest person in the world, international playboy, never worked a day of his life, kind of like Bruce Wayne without the heroism, just a hedonistic, uncaring asshole. And then you got Eva Longoria, plays Anna Faris's best friend, works in a pizzeria with her husband. So Anna Faris one of her jobs is carpet cleaning, ends up going to Eugenio's yacht to clean his clean his carpets after a night of debauchery, and he just absolutely treats her like garbage, to the point where as he's sailing off, he pushes her into the ocean and then throws all of her equipment in there. So after he ends up going overboard, washing up on a beach with amnesia, Anna's friend Eva Longoria convinces her to pick him up from the hospital, convince him that he's actually married to her with the 3 kids, and it's an absolutely ridiculous premise, but that's the setup of the movie, so enjoy a couple highlights from the trailer.
I don't even know my own name. Amnesia in our little town.
That's him.
I have an idea that is poetic in its justice.
I'm here to pick up my husband.
You're really my wife?
For better or worse, baby.
I'm poor?
Yep.
How come they don't look like me?
We had to use a sperm donor.
I'm sterile.
You're getting picked up for work bright and early.
I work?
3 jobs. Oh, I want a fake husband.
So, Overboard, I caught the trailer a few times from a few different movies, and I had 0 expectations going into this. I thought it was just gonna be a trash throwaway movie that I'd forget in 5 minutes. But I gotta say, I love this movie. It really, so in a romantic comedy, you want to laugh a little bit, you want to cry a little bit, maybe get a little choked up. And if you learn something along the way, that's just an added bonus. And Overboard hits on all 3 points. If you go to the IMDb page right now, it's preview night. It actually officially opens the day after I'm recording this. But right now it's sitting at 3.3 on IMDb. Of the 7 reviews, 3 people gave it a 10, 3 people gave it a 1, and then 1 person gave it a 2. So it's being dragged down by completely polar opposite scores. And a lot of people are commenting about the gender swapping. I don't think that's what's really rubbing people. They're complaining about the gender swapping and just the fact that it's a remake. But I don't think that's the actual issue. What people are not liking about this movie. So first of all, before we get into that, let's talk about what works. This movie is just hilarious, and I was kind of surprised at how much I laughed throughout this movie, and I was also surprised at how many people were in the theater for this, and it was just a great time. Everybody was laughing. Everybody got on board. Everybody got on board with Overboard. Eugenio, Derbez. Sorry about that. He does all the heavy lifting, both in terms of comedy and literally in the movie. He's learning how to do some heavy lifting. Anna Faris, I absolutely love her. She's one of the funniest actresses, going back to the days of Waiting. Just always hilarious. In this, she's a little bit more of the straight man. Doesn't do a lot of the comedic stuff, but you occasionally get a couple moments of her snarkiness or wit or ability to tell somebody off that you saw back in Waiting. So, and then the other performances, Eva Longoria is always a delight, and pretty much all the supporting characters, particularly Eugenio, after he's convinced that he's Anna Faris's husband, he has to go work, and he works, ends up doing menial labor, construction with Eva Longoria's husband, played by Mel Rodriguez, and they're end up building a swimming pool. So he's lifting bags of concrete, shooting concrete, digging the hole, and it's absolutely backbreaking labor. And some of where the movie really got me, and ridiculous premise aside, I just got on board and just started rolling with it, was all the five Hispanic male construction workers just hanging out and talking, and it was like me and my friends hanging out after building a patio or something. The humor was so spot on, real life, that after that I was just like, you know what? I'm with you, movie. You're hilarious, and I'm just going to enjoy the rest of the ride. But it wasn't just funny when it did. No spoilers here, but it does get to a pretty touching moment, particularly with the 3 children and the character arc that Eugenio goes through. So in terms of remakes, in terms of rom-coms, this hits on every level, and as a standalone movie, I mean, I'm going to give this 4.25 stars. I encourage everybody to go see it. It's fun. It's hilarious. It'll get you choked up a little bit, and there's an incredibly interesting thing that happens within the movie that I'm going to talk about at length after the review portion. And it's very 2018, and I'll explain that as well. One thing that I think is going to rub some people the wrong way, even though it shouldn't, this is a bilingual movie, and it is made for a bilingual audience. When Spanish speakers are talking to each other, they don't speak in English. They speak in Spanish with subtitles. And at first, I wasn't expecting that. So it took a few minutes to just kind of recalibrate and just accept that that's how this movie is. And once I kind of just went with that formula, it opened me up to appreciate what the movie was really saying and what the kind of the point of this movie was. This isn't a throwaway remake just for a couple yucks. This movie actually has a pretty profound statement about just about the changing world. And so besides being funny, besides having a solid emotional core, it also has a pretty cool message, and I'm on board with everything it was doing. So like I said, I'm going to give this 4.25 stars. The performances were all solid, hilarious, in some ways as funny as Blockers, but it's a completely different style of humor. But it worked. Everything it wanted to do, it hit every beat that it was trying to hit. So I've kind of alluded. So that's going to kind of conclude the review. I highly recommend it. 4.25 stars. And now I invite everybody to just kind of stick around for a few minutes to talk about what I think some people are having an issue with, and why I think this movie why it impacted me so much. And there's two things I'm going to start with. One, this movie is set in Oregon, and I don't think that's a mistake. That when we think of like the Pacific Northwest in terms of ethnicity, for most of my life, the Pacific Northwest has been viewed as lily white, right? Hippies, 90s grunge, new age stuff, but it has been a pretty solid white space. So much of what's going on in the country right now, and a lot of the angst that some people are feeling, is this idea that Caucasians and white people are going to become a minority. And for some people, that's an issue. If you know anything about me, if you've seen a couple of my reviews, you can probably guess where I stand on that. I embrace change, but anyways, so setting this in Oregon with Eva Longoria and her side of the cast is all Hispanic. They speak Spanish to each other. They watch Telemundo. They watch novellas, the stories. And, there's a scene early on where Anna Faris kind of is busting on them for how ridiculous their stories are. But that's their culture. And there's early on, there's kind of a tonal shift where when it's just the Hispanic characters, it kind of has a feel of a Telemundo show or a novella. Whereas when it's Anna Faris and her kids, and it has more of a feeling of a traditional Hollywood movie. And then eventually these two tones merge, and the languages start to merge, and you find out that Anna Faris speaks Spanish. Her children, or her oldest daughter, is learning Spanish, and you start getting code switching back and forth as people swap between English and Spanish. And again, going back to why this is set in Oregon, is it's signifying that the country is changing. White spaces are now becoming multicultural. Hispanics are moving everywhere. Asians are moving everywhere. Just the entire country is becoming more of a melting pot. The melting pot we were promised, at least I was promised as a kid. And there's one scene, so Anna Faris's mother in the movie is an aspiring actress. Is 70 years old, and she's an aspiring actress. And at the very end, and this is a minor spoiler, it's not really about the plot, but just her tiny little moment in it, it's revealed that this big performance that she's doing is really just really crappy, bad community theater. So Anna Faris and her kids go see this play, and her mother is, along with two other old white people, are dressed up as geishas and doing this ridiculous song. It's awful. It's terrible. Everybody in the audience, within the movie understands how awful this geisha performance is. It's basically yellow face, and Anna Faris eventually grabs her kids and walks out of the theater. And that's kind of representing of how absurd it is to expect non-English speakers or bilingual people to constantly conform to a white English speaking space. So we see this all the time in movies where you might have something set in China or Mexico, and people that would normally be speaking Chinese or Spanish are speaking to each other in English, and that's because the audience is an English speaking audience. Well, that's not necessarily the case anymore. Hollywood, especially in 2018, Hollywood is recognizing that the audience is multinational, multilingual, multicultural, and 2018, Hollywood is embracing that diversity. And Pacific Rim is a good example. Pacific Rim is an American movie in English, clearly made for a Chinese audience with almost no regard to the American audience. Isle of Dogs was clearly made for, it was a love letter to Japanese culture. When I saw it, I completely misread it. And if you watch that review, I went back into my research and realized just how authentic it was to Japanese culture. Black Panther showed an entire new concept of what Pan-African culture could be. And this is 2018. I think it's a clear refutation of this anachronistic view of white people colonialism clutching, holding on to the remnants of what they viewed as their power or their dominance, the hegemony of white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Now, for me, as a kid, I was promised a melting pot. The America I was promised was the beacon on the hill, the light for everybody to come to, and I still hold out hope that that's the America we are going to have. You can see I'm wearing my tie-dyed Captain America shirt. I've got my U.S. flag. My U.S. flag cowboy hat that I got on Route 66. This is as Americana as it can get. I've got this is the flag that I served under in Afghanistan for 9 months. This was flying over my camp that I was responsible for. I am as proud of my country as anybody can be. And what Overboard really represents more than anything is this promise of a multicultural, diverse, and actually embracing diversity and celebrating diversity. And that's the America I was promised, and I'm looking forward to it. So to Rob Greenberg and Anna Faris and Eugenio Derbez, thank you. I was not expecting to enjoy this movie. I was not expecting to be moved by it, but absolutely was. Just an absolutely delightful movie. And not only does it remind me of what America promises to be, but it just reminds me of why there's value in going to movies and seeing theaters and connecting to people in ways you might not have been expecting to. Just an absolute delight, and like I said, I can't recommend it enough. Go see this. I hope this movie does well. I really hope it does well, and I hope there's more like it to follow. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you stuck through this whole thing, and like and subscribe. Stay tuned for other videos, and I'm Jeff. Get on the bandwagon.